All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking Salesforce Sales Cloud, specifically how to get it working for your small business.
A lot of people find this a bit overwhelming, so we're here to help.
Totally. I mean, you shared this Spring 25 implementation guide with me, and well, it's a lot.
It is. We'll break it down, though. Don't
Okay,
fret.
so this guide focuses on setting up a brand new sales organization using Salesforce Classic. Is that right?
Yeah, the classic interface. But the good news is you can switch to Lightning Experience later on.
Oh, okay. So we can upgrade later.
Exactly. It's kind of like starting with training wheels and then moving on to the big leagues.
I like that. So it assumes some basic computer skills.
Right, like using spreadsheets and stuff. Nothing too crazy, but you should be comfortable with that.
Got it. So you don't need to be a programmer or anything.
No, not at all.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, before we even get into the technical stuff, I noticed the guide really stresses this idea of defining your why.
Yeah, that's super important. Yeah.
Why is that?
It's like building a house without a blueprint. You kind of need to know what you're trying to achieve with Salesforce before you start clicking around.
Right. What are our pain points? What are we hoping to solve with Salesforce?
Exactly. What are your goals? How will Salesforce help you get there? If you don't know that, then, well, you might end up going in the wrong direction.
So it's all about aligning Salesforce with our overall business goals. I like that.
Absolutely. It's not just about having fancy software. It's about having software that helps you achieve what you want to achieve.
Makes sense. Now, I've got to admit, some of the terminology in the guide threw me off a bit, like clouds and SaaS.
The jargon.
Can we break those down a little just to make sure we're all on the same page?
Sure. Clouds are basically like bundles of features within Salesforce. Think of them as like specialized departments.
Okay. So we're focusing on Sales Cloud, which is specifically for managing sales activities, I assume.
That's right. It's all about helping you manage your sales process, your leads, your customers, all that good stuff.
And SaaS. What does that even stand for?
It stands for Software as a Service.
Which basically means?
It means you access Salesforce online. No need to download or install anything. It's all in the cloud.
So it's like streaming a movie instead of buying the DVD.
Exactly. And updates happen automatically, so you always have the latest version.
That's convenient. I also noticed the guide mentions trust a lot.
Yeah, Salesforce is really big on trust. They even have a website, trust.salesforce.com, where you can see real-time system performance updates and all that.
That's interesting. It's like they're saying, hey, we're transparent. You can trust us with your data.
Exactly. They want to be upfront about everything.
Okay, I like that. Now, before we move on, there are a bunch of Salesforce-specific terms that we should probably define, just to make sure everyone's following along.
You bet. Like app, addition, object, all that.
Let's start with app. What's an app in the Salesforce world?
Think of an app as a set of tools for a specific job. Salesforce has pre-built apps, but you can also create custom ones.
So it's like a toolbox for a specific department or function.
Exactly. And each app has its own set of features and functionalities.
What about addition? The guide mentions different editions of Salesforce.
Right. Editions are like different subscription levels, each with varying capabilities and prices. Like basic cable versus premium cable.
So you choose the edition that fits your budget and needs.
Exactly. Some editions have more features, some have fewer. It all depends on what you're looking for.
All right. Next up, objects. This one sounds kind of abstract.
Don't worry, it's not that complicated. Objects are basically containers for information. Think of them as like database tables.
So for example,
The account object would store information about your customers, like their names, contact info, and so on.
so each customer would have their own record within the account object.
That's right. Each record is like a row in a spreadsheet.
Got it. What about organization? What does that refer to?
Your organization is basically your unique instance of Salesforce. It's where all your data, apps, and customizations live.
So it's like our own private Salesforce universe.
Exactly. Your own little corner of the Salesforce world.
And lastly, release. What does that mean?
Salesforce releases updates 3 times a year. Each release is named after a season, like Spring 25.
Oh, so these updates bring new features and improvements.
Right. It's like getting a software upgrade every few months.
So we need to stay on top of those releases to make sure we're using the latest and greatest version of Salesforce.
Definitely. It's important to stay current.
Okay, I think we've covered the basic terminology. Now we can actually start talking about implementation.
Sounds good to me.
And the first step, according to the guide, is adding users, which is interesting because they emphasize doing this before importing data.
Yeah. That might seem counterintuitive
It does. Why is that so important?
because user accounts determine who has access to what information. So it's important to set those up first before you start bringing in all your data.
So it's like setting the foundation for our Salesforce house before we start decorating.
Exactly. You need to know who's going to be living there and what their roles are going to be.
That makes sense. Now, when it comes to users, the guide throws around a bunch of other terms like usernames, user licenses, profiles, and roles.
Right. Those are all important concepts.
Can we break those down as well just to make sure we're on the same page?
Absolutely. So usernames are pretty straightforward. It's what people use to log in.
Okay, so each user needs their own unique username.
Exactly. Then we have user licenses. These determine what features and functionality each user has access to.
So it's like different levels of membership.
Right. Some licenses give you access to more features than others.
And profiles.
Profiles control what actions users can perform within Salesforce, like can they create records, can they edit records, can they delete records, that kind of stuff.
So it's about controlling their permissions within the system.
Exactly. And then we have roles, which determine who can see what information.
So it's all about data visibility.
Right. Roles work in a hierarchy, so someone higher up in the hierarchy can see data that belongs to someone lower down.
Okay, so it's like a manager being able to see their team's data.
Precisely. And the guide really emphasizes not granting more access than necessary.
Right. It's all about data security. Don't give people access to information they don't need.
Exactly. It's like giving everyone the keys to the kingdom when they only need access to one room.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this.
Good, good. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. From understanding the why of Salesforce to navigating the world of users, licenses, and profiles.
And we're just getting started. Next time, we'll talk about how to customize Salesforce to your specific needs, and then we'll dive into the exciting world of data import.
Oh boy, data import. Sounds fun.
Don't worry, we'll make it as painless as possible.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But until then, thanks for joining us on this Salesforce Deep Dive.
My pleasure. See you next time.
Bye for now.